My very first year out of college, I was a substitute teacher here in Sioux Falls. And then my second year, I was hired to teach second grade in Flandreau, South Dakota, just like a week before school started. So it was kind of a whirlwind experience, but I taught for 2 years in Flandreau and then was hired to teach third grade at Cleveland Elementary. And I spent 1 year there teaching third grade, and then I helped open Annie Sullivan as a third grade teacher, and did that for several years until the school district decided to try something new and have instructional coaches. So I was one of the original instructional coaches in Sioux Falls and did that until Dr. Homan tapped me on the shoulder and said, I think you should be an admin intern. So I did that for 3 years, and now I've been at Garfield for 9 years. My third grade teacher was an amazing person. I had had a really hard second grade year, and when I look back on my career at Mark Twain Elementary School, second grade was hard, and I was a busy child, and I think that's why my heart goes out to the busy kids here at Garfield. And the third grade teacher that I had, Mrs. Carlson, changed my life and accepted me for who I was, and I have never looked back. I always wanted to be a teacher. The students and the families that we get to work with, but just seeing the growth that they make throughout the year. It's not always academic growth, it's sometimes behavioral growth, just growth in being able to be social and to set goals and reach them. So I married a teacher, and he now is retired but subbing. And so Kurt and I raised our children growing up at school, and they both have decided to go into the teaching profession. Our daughter teaches kindergarten at Laura Wilder, and she's finishing her second year. Very sad to have the year end. And our son is a K through 12 physical education teacher and head football coach in Britain, South Dakota. So we've learned small town life, and he is having his last day of school today. I've had a lot of those little moments when you've been in education as long as I have. There's so many people that you run into. Two things come to mind. I was at a SDSU football game one day, and these two people came up to me and they said, Miss Muth? And I said, yeah. And they said, do you remember who we are? And I said, remind me, because they were grown up. And it was two students from my very first class in Flandreau that now were married and have 4 children. And so we got our picture taken together, and that was really exciting. And then another one that comes to mind is a third grader that I had at Cleveland who really had a hard time. And I remember he and I, on the last day of school, cried together. It was really a sad moment when we knew we weren't going to be together, because I was somebody who he trusted, and he now is a principal. He chose the right path and really has made well for himself. And a few years ago, he reached out to me and had written when he turned 30, he had written a blog about 30 for 30, and I was number 5. So that was kind of a neat experience for me. So this is my wall of fame, and these are all the students that I have taught throughout the years, and it becomes just a really neat experience for me when I see them out in public and they come and talk to me. And then I tell them, your picture is hanging on my wall, and I still think of you as a little third grader who would sit at my feet when I read to them. And it's great to be able to look at this. A lot of times when kids are in my office, they're drawn to this wall. Of course, they love to look at my changing hairstyles. And they also like to say, you were alive in the 1990s? Yes, I was. And I was teaching. But they'll say, tell me about this student. And I can tell them that there are people on this wall that are teachers, and there are people on this wall that I have run into that fix air conditioners. There's doctors, there's phlebotomists on here, and it's been fun. Facebook is one of those things where you can just continue to stay in touch with people, and so I've stayed in touch with many of the students who I've taught. I've been to their weddings, and unfortunately I've been to a couple of their funerals, which is really hard. but they are very, very special people. You see in my sign right there, the children who stole my heart. And they become a part of who you are. And now, as a principal, I have 540 kids every year that I get the privilege of being a part of their lives, and I don't have enough space on my wall for all of them, but I do have my principal books that I can look back through and remember who they are, and it's very fun. Yesterday at Hy-Vee, in fact, the guy who loaded my groceries into my car was a former Garfield student, and he said, "Do you remember me?" And I did, so it was kind of fun.